Welcome back to Favorite Tip Friday. This is a series where I reach out to contributors from all over the author community and get their top tips on the subject of the week. This week, we're going to talk about bad habits for writers. Have you ever had one of those days where you sit down to write and you just start cranking out the words? You get in the zone and in no time at all, you look down and you realize that you've accomplished a ton of writing. I gotta admit, those moments are super sweet. If you're anything like me, you might start to notice that those moments are few and far between. Well, don't worry, you are not alone. After all, nobody's perfect, right? While we may have the best of intentions when it comes to writing and self-publishing books, it's inevitable that we'll fall into some bad habits. Even worse is when we pick up some bad writing habits and we don't even notice because they happen a little at a time. So let's see what advice our contributors have when it comes to bad writing habits. Let's get to the contributors.
Hey guys, my name is WC Writes, and I am going to share with you 3 bad habits for writers. The first one is the most obvious one, but it's that you don't write. And when I say write, I mean actually writing. And yes, writing every day is good. It's alright if it's not necessarily your story or the work that you want to publish or produce. It's just getting in the habit of writing something every day. Because once you start writing, your body will become used to it. So if you don't get in the habit of actually writing, you will never actually write anything. The second bad habit is that you think you're not good enough to write. Don't worry about that. If you read enough blogs and essays or listen to enough interviews from published authors that you admire, they all say that they had to write a lot in order to be good at what they were doing. And even when they weren't good, guess what? They didn't have to be the best writer in the world. That's what editors are for. And the third bad habit, and I'm sure is the most critical out of the 3, but they all lead to the same thing, is you not finishing. And so if you don't finish your writing, if you have a bunch of writings that you never ever complete, who's going to read them? Anybody can journal. And that's what writing for yourself is. It's a live diary, it's a journal, it's a story that you write just for yourself. But when you are writing for other people, you finish the things that you write, even if they're not perfect. You do them to the degree that you can, because that's the point of writing, isn't it? For someone else to read besides your mom and your cat. And those are my 3 bad habits that I want to share.
Ooh, man, I'll tell you what. All talk, no show. I see a lot of people always talking about they're going to be writing a book about this, that, and the other. And then when you follow up with them within, like, say, another month or 2 or 3 months or even a couple of years, and they still haven't quite tackled that thing, stop talking, start writing. Because if you want to be a writer and you want to become somebody that is recognized for your work, whether it be through downloads or purchases or even actually income, you actually need to do the work. So stop doing all the yapping and start doing all the writing, because that is a bad habit of just constantly talking. Now, if you can be able to back up that talk, then I'll step on back. I know there's some people that can talk the talk and walk the walk, but until you can actually put pen to paper or hit that first keystroke and start to take some kind of action, that's a bad habit of sitting here and just talking.
I would say probably one of the biggest culprits, at least for me, is not setting goals and sticking to them. You know, we have all these intentions of writing all these books or whatever it may be. Maybe you want to write one big novel, or you plan on knocking out a book every month or a book every quarter, whatever it is. If you don't set yourself an actual schedule to get that accomplished, there's a much better chance that it's not going to happen. So setting goals, setting dates, and not just long-term, like I want to publish by a certain date, but work your way back. If you want to publish by a certain date, when do you need to have that first draft done? When do you need to have the final draft done? When do you want to have it uploaded? When do you want to send it to your editor? These are all dates that you really should think about and set. And when I say set it, I mean put it on your calendar. And even better is if you tell somebody else about it. I've talked about this a couple times on the channel, but when you have an accountability partner, whether it's one person or you share it on social media so the world can see it, when you set goals and when you set a schedule around those goals and you let other people know about it, there's a much better chance that you're going to meet those goals and even exceed them. Now, sometimes you may not. Things happen, life happens, and you might miss a certain schedule. That's one reason why it's so important to set little schedules along the way. So your first draft done by this time, it needs to get to the editor by this time. Because when you're off on one of those, you can just shorten the amount of time it takes you to do the next step. And so you can still meet your final goal of getting that book published whenever you wanted it published. So again, a really bad writing habit is to not set yourself a deadline, set yourself goals, and letting other people know about it. Now that's my advice on bad writing habits. Let's keep it moving.
One bad habit I believe most writers have is not taking care of themselves. We will sit in front of that computer hours on end, not moving. Our drinks, our snacks are close by, but there's no movement for the body. I am up now. I go to the gym in the morning because it's too hot to walk in the neighborhood. I sit, I still do my 4 miles. When I come home, I start working. Lunchtime, I will actually get on my bicycle, which is also in my office, and do another 2 miles. My main goal is to make sure my lower body keeps moving because that's where all that extra weight starts to form.
Hey there, I'm Julie the Book Broad with Book Launchers. Bad habits. The biggest habit that is a bad habit for writers is to go back and reread what they wrote the day before they start writing the next day. This takes you forever to finish your book, and then you end up with a really great first chapter and a really bad last chapter. So rather than doing that, just make a note for where you're going to pick up the next day and sit down and start writing.
Now, once again, I want to thank all my contributors this week, and don't forget to check out the links to their channels down in the description below. Now, I know we just got through talking about bad writing habits, but you know what a bad viewer habit is? It's not clicking on that next video. But you're not a bad viewer, you're a great viewer. So you're gonna click on it, right? Promise? I'll hold you to it. I'll see you in that video. And remember to write right.